It's a beautiful day for a ball game because that's just about what we have inside the theater at Madison Square Garden. It's the 61st annual NFL Draft. The man that helped the Cowboys win 2 of those 3 Super Bowl championships, Jimmy Johnson, is now in Miami. We'll have War Room Cam inside Miami to take a look at what the Dolphins will do in year 1 under Jimmy Johnson.
I'm in Miami, where Jimmy Johnson's first draft as Dolphins coach is widely anticipated. Jimmy has the 20th pick, but he's been working the phones. Will he do a deal? Will he do a deal with the Cowboys and Jerry Jones? Well, Lawrence Phillips was one of 2 running backs that Jimmy Johnson considered trading up for, one being Phillips, one being Tim Biakabatuka. Here's how Johnson investigated Phillips. He hired 3 psychologists to interview Phillips, and he videotaped every one of those sessions, and in the end, he felt that Phillips would be a worthy pick. He just doesn't have the ammunition to move up at this point. Let's go back to New York with Chris Berman.
And Jimmy's, I don't know, they got some decisions to make here right now with about 6:40 left on the clock with Miami. Now, of course, when taking over the Miami Dolphins, Joe, and you heard Carl Peterson refer to it, 3 big salaried defensive players left. And the one I think he didn't want to lose was Troy Vincent to Philadelphia. The other 2, he kind of he liked the guys, but he realized that under the cap they had to go.
I think Marco Coleman, I think Brian Cox, I think he could live without him, but Troy Vincent was a guy, he's a very unique covered corner. 5 interceptions last year. He has the physical skills to play. He's going to be a big plus in Philadelphia. He has got a physical nature about what he can do, and it'll help tremendously for him. I think Jimmy, first of all, I like Jimmy's new hairdo. It's got a little bit of a wave in it, and it's a new look for him for a new football team. I think that he is going to try and go after speed. This has been his history. We've talked about it. That's the nature. First guy to come to my mind would be Ray Lewis. The second alternative would be Lewis will be there. I can trade down. Jimmy loves to get draft picks. I don't think he's quite got a handle exactly yet on this thing called the salary cap. I think you have to go through it. You have to experience it. Bob Eccles, who's a veteran, is in the organization as well. Understands
Miami, so he would be playing at home. Is that a good fit, or are there another player or 2 at this point with some speed that Jimmy might be looking at right now farther down your board?
I really don't. I think Jimmy's in a real dilemma here. When you look at Ray Lewis, I think he's got plenty of speed. I know there's been speculation that he doesn't. He ran 4.64 on grass during an individual workout. He's 235 pounds. He's a great football player. He averaged maybe 17 to 20 tackles per game at Miami. I just don't see Darryl Gardner being a good fit with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson wants guys who go out there and produce and are impact players and make big plays. And Darryl Gardner did not do that on a consistent basis at Baylor. I just don't see that being a great fit.
Well, the other thing I think that we have to consider is look where Ray Lewis comes from. Butch Davis is now the coach at the University of Miami. Butch Davis was Jimmy's defensive coach. This is a natural fit as far as getting a player who understands a system so you don't have to spend a lot of time teaching a young man how to play the game. He comes from a coach who was in the professional level. I'm sure he sat down with him, explained to him what Jimmy's all about from a personality standpoint, and if the pick is made, then it is a good natural fit.
Well, there's about 4 minutes left to go on the clock as the Miami Dolphins look like they will burn up all 15 minutes. First-round picks are 15 minutes. Second-round picks are 10. Round 3 through 7 are 5 minutes if you're anticipating, as we are. The pick is in. We head up to the point. Here's the defensive side of the ball, Joe. And as far as the sack, the guys who are left with sacks, not a lot of them. All right, Trace Armstrong, all right. Cross has certainly had better years. Bowens is a great run stopper in the middle, but they need somebody to pressure the quarterback. Here's the pick. Let's see if they got one. Confusing here?
I think it's a trade. Anytime you take that long to explain, it's a little bit of a deal.
With the 20th choice in the first round, the Miami Dolphins select Darryl Gardner, defensive tackle from Baylor.
Now this, I think, is interesting. I wouldn't have necessarily added 1 + 1 is 2, but as far as ability, Mel, Darryl Gardner's motor is running. He's very good, and it certainly addresses what we just put up there about the sack and
defense.
I think physical ability, Chris, of Darryl Gardner is tremendous. You look at him, 6'6½", 320 pounds, runs a 4.9, did 30 reps at 225. You see him in a one-on-one workout. This is where he really gets the attention of a defensive line coach. You watch him in a game, we're going to see highlights here of some of the plays he made. Unfortunately, you didn't see this kind of ability play in and play out, down in and down out, even in the Southwest Conference, where this guy should have been dominating every game. And there were games where he was very average. And I think when you look at Darryl Gardner, what you're going to have to do with him is immediately get him into a mode where he's attacking the line of scrimmage on a regular basis. I know Jimmy, historically with the Cowboys, has always wanted guys at the college level that made big plays, that were playmakers. And unfortunately, Daryl Gardner was not that way at Baylor. He's either going to make Jimmy Johnson's draft, or he's going to be a huge, huge bust.
When he makes the plays, Joe, 29% of his career tackles behind the line of scrimmage or quarterback sack. So there's a guy, when he makes the plays, another bird dog told me, has skills like Chester McLaughlin.
Absolutely. I think Chester McLaughlin's name has come up when you talk about Gardner, but Jimmy Johnson will get this young man to play at the level that he should have played at Baylor. There's no doubt in my mind that one of the great assets that Jimmy has is he does have the ability to motivate. I said before, he's lost the ability to intimidate, I think, because of the cap, and he's going to have to see how that does, but he will definitely get this young man motivated. It gives him some depth on that defensive line as well. And the big thing you got to look at in this division is who can put pressure on the passers. Bledsoe's not going to run away from too many people. You know Neil O'Donnell's not going to go very far. So there's a situation where now you need that big push up the middle. That makes an awful lot of sense to me as far as the pick goes.
Good point, Joe. Let's go to our man who is close to the scene of collegiate football in Texas, Craig James, and your thoughts on Daryl Gardner. I wouldn't have added up, really, Jimmy Johnson and Daryl Gardner, although maybe you've seen something in Gardner that would say it's a perfect fit. What do you think, Craig?
Well, I'll tell you why it's a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit because Jimmy Johnson doesn't care what people like you and I say about him. He's going to take a player that he believes has a lot of talent that he has a chance to groom and work with. Look back to Leon Lett. Folks thought he was crazy. Who's Leon Lett? Leon Lett is not Mr. Snowman. He's an all-pro football player now. Daryl Gardner has the physical skills to be an excellent player in the NFL. Jimmy Johnson will give him the chance mentally to excel and get to that next level, just like he did Leon Lett. So I think it's a great choice, and Daryl Gardner's a lucky man, Chris.
Well, you think of the mix in the middle now. You have the Bowens, the big kid, the run stopper, and if Gardner can fire off the ball, you have two different sort of players playing over the center and guard, and that can cause some confusion.
Okay, hey, well, I am here with Jimmy Johnson. We were just going over the first couple hours of the draft. Jimmy, I saw you working the phones, but you end up with Daryl Gardner. Controversial pick. Some people think that this is a guy who will not produce in the NFL because he didn't produce in college.
Well, Chris, I've never been afraid of controversy, and obviously this is a controversial pick. But, we started scratching our head on him about 3 days ago when we found out that he might drop. Earlier, we thought that he was going to be a higher pick. And when I found out, I talked to a few people, and they said, hey, you might have a chance at him. I said, well, I was thinking about a linebacker, but if Daryl Gardner's there, he can make an impact on the game. I think he's got the biggest upside of anybody in the draft. I think, just watching the tapes on him, our defensive line coach worked him out here last month, and we really feel like that he can be a disruptive force. I think he's talented enough to play a defensive end or tackle.
Yeah, I also saw you working the phones prior to that pick. Did you have anything going? Could you have made a trade there?
Well, yeah, we had a chance to trade down if we wanted to out of the pick, but once we made a decision to take Gardner, once he was there, I said, hey, let's take a risk, but take a guy that's 6'6.5", 320 pounds that can run 4.8. I think, right here, the rewards are going to be large if we can do what we think that we can do, and that's get this guy in shape and get him playing up to his capabilities.